So once more, I had to come back, everyone. I had to come back. I hope you can hear me loud and clear now. Yeah. Okay. So I think it's much better now. I hope you can hear me loud and clear. So something is about to happen, guys. Let's go back to the without further preambles now. Let's go back to, let me go and share my screen now. Which particular one? Okay. So that's what we are sharing now. Let's go back. I hope you can see this. So let me see what we are seeing. Let's see what is happening here. If that is the case, let's probably yeah, okay, let's try this. Let's see how this would. Okay, while we are waiting for that, I might have to let me see if I can change the way I'm sharing this. Let me see if I can change the way I'm sharing this. Let me see if I can change the way I am sharing this. That has to be advanced. So are we getting this? So let me see what I was saying.
Everyone, as has been mentioned, my name is Tim McMurtry. I serve as Wisconsin State Coordinator for Christians United for Israel. I also serve as North Campus Pastor for World Outreach and Bible Training Center in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It gives me great pleasure and honor to be with you all here on today. Thank you for Ambassador for having this event. I also want to thank Ms. Morgan Ortegas for the invitation, and thank Ms. Minaj for coming in and really showing her courage in standing up for this serious issue. With that, lead us in prayer. Father God of heaven and earth, we thank you and we bless you for this day. For this is a day that you have made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. Father, we stand in the gap for our Christian brothers and sisters in Nigeria. And you said in your word, Father, that you would never leave us nor forsake us. So we thank you for your hedge of protection. We thank you now, Father, for miracle signs and wonders, breaking, Father God, the spirit of attack and murder that they are facing right now. Father, we come to you boldly before the throne of grace to obtain mercy in our time of need. And we thank you for living up to your word and never leaving us nor forsaking us, like your word says. And on today, Father, let every speaker that comes today, every panelist, fill them with the spirit of wisdom and revelation in the knowledge of you, opening the eyes of our understanding, showing us, Father, ways, strategies, methodologies that we can make an impact and a difference in this situation right now. Father, you said for us to be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving to make our requests made known unto you. So we appeal to you now, Father, as Christians, as faith people, as believers of God, to intervene now as only you can. And finally, Father, this is the confidence that we have in you, that if we ask anything according to your will, you hear us. And if we know that you hear us, we know that we have the petitions which we have requested of you. So we thank you for a supernatural move of God intervening in Nigeria on the behalf of our Christians, brothers and sisters, even now, in this time, in this season. And we thank you, Father, for a fruitful, productive meeting on today. And we thank you for outcomes and fruit that remains coming as a result of this meeting. We thank you for this. And we believe, expect, and receive it in the matchless name of Jesus the Christ. Amen and amen again.
Please welcome the U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Michael Waltz.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much for everyone who has joined us today. And for a number of our ambassadors and delegates who have joined us, thank you for coming. To our faith leaders, survivors of some of these atrocities, and what I would call everyone here a friend of freedom. Welcome to the United States mission to the United Nations. And today we speak of blood. We speak of the blood that still cries from Nigerian soil. This is deeply personal for me, as I know it is for Miss Minaj and her pastor here, Peters Adano, and others. I had the opportunity to serve in Nigeria in 2015, if you remember, when then 300 little girls were kidnapped from their schools, ripped out of their homes and schools in the middle of the day and in the middle of the night. We sent a small team over there, and we trained Nigeria's equivalent of their Navy SEALs to go get those girls back. It was righteous work. We didn't get them all back, unfortunately, but we got some. Some will be lost forever. And if you remember the infamous Save the Girls campaign, that was 10 years ago, folks. It's still happening. It just happened yesterday. 25 little girls were ripped out of their school. I pray that we get them back, but what often happens is they're sold into sex slavery. They're forced to renounce their religion. They never see their homes or families again, and they literally disappear to the dark underbelly of extremism and sex slavery. Look, 10 years later, the horror continues. In the Middle Belt and in the North, churches burn, mothers bury their children for the crime of singing Amazing Grace. Pastors have been beheaded. Pastors have been beheaded for preaching the Sermon on the Mount. Entire villages. This year alone, the NGO, the nonprofit Open Doors, reports a very sharp rise in attacks. They're reporting 80% of the violence against Christians worldwide is occurring in Nigeria. Thousands are displaced, are killed in faith-based reprisals. So a few weeks ago, the United States designated Nigeria a country of particular concern for severe violations of religious freedom, spotlighting what can only be described as the government's failure to curb these atrocities. And while Nigerian officials maintain that terrorism strikes all faiths indiscriminately, and they do. There is a body of evidence, and you are going to hear that from our experts today, that paints a very grim picture of disproportionate suffering among Christians, where again, families are torn apart, clergy is repeatedly assassinated, and entire congregations, church congregations, you see some of the images here, are driven into hiding. Folks, we have an entire faith that is being erased, one bullet at a time, one torched Bible at a time. Yet in the face of this evil, one leader has refused to look away. President Trump has made the persecuted church his priority like no other president before him in American history. He was the first U.S. president to convene world leaders right here at the United Nations in 2019 to draw the world's attention to what is happening. He created the Religious Liberty Commission to fight for believers everywhere. And while Nigeria's Christians cried out, he answered, and he has answered loudly. He has reminded the world that protecting Christians is not about politics, it is a moral duty. So inspiration alone is not enough. We need voices that pierce the silence that we've heard from the international community, that humanizes these statistics that we keep hearing, and that demands accountability. And that's why we're here today, to hear from a pastor that will dial in through our embassy in Nigeria. And we're going to hear especially want to thank my friend Harris Faulkner, who, in addition to just being an amazing person, is also the daughter of a U.S. Army colonel. So that makes her extra special in my heart. And she has spent much of her career protecting this most basic, folks, this is the most basic of liberties, to worship as one sees fit. But we are especially thrilled that we're going to hear from an especially powerful voice, a fearless advocate whose passion for justice transcends borders, and she uses her voice to defend the voiceless. Hers are not empty words, they are a clarion call, echoing the UN's, the United Nations' own Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which proclaims that, quote, everyone has the right to freedom of thought, to freedom of conscience, and to freedom of religion. She steps onto this world stage not as a celebrity, but as a witness. She uses and has used her influence to spotlight Nigeria's persecuted church, reaching out to her 28 million followers, her barbs, as I've now learned. And she uses this, and as she steps on this global stage, to fund emergency relief and to demand action. Nikki, I can't tell you how much I admire you. You're stepping up. You're leaning into this issue. You've enjoyed amazing success, and you could be sitting back and just enjoying it. You could be just living the good life, but you're willing to come here today and roll up your sleeves, and let's try to solve this. Let's try to save these people. So everyone, please join me in welcoming a daughter of the Caribbean, a champion of the oppressed, and a sister in Christ, Nicki Minaj.
Hello, everyone. I must say I am very nervous, so please Well, thank you, Ambassador Waltz, for this invitation. It is an honor to stand on this stage with you and the other distinguished speakers here today to shine a spotlight on the deadly threat faced by thousands of Christians in Nigeria. I would like to thank President Trump for prioritizing this issue and for his leadership on the global stage in calling for urgent action to defend Christians in Nigeria, to combat extremism, and to bring a stop to violence against those who simply want to exercise their natural right to freedom of religion or belief. I stand here as a proud New Yorker with a deep sense of gratitude that we live in a country where we can freely and safely worship God regardless of one's creed, background, or politics. No group should ever be persecuted for practicing their religion, like I recently stated on social media. And we don't have to share the same beliefs in order for us to respect each other. We're way beyond thinking or expecting or assuming for, the person sitting next to you to have the exact same beliefs. We're beyond that. That's ridiculous. But that shouldn't make one person feel less safe than anyone in any room. Music has taken me around the globe. I have seen how people, no matter their language, culture, or religion, come alive when they hear a song that touches their soul. Religious freedom means we all can sing our faith regardless of who we are, where we live, and what we believe. But today, faith is under attack in way too many places. In Nigeria, Christians are being targeted, driven from their homes, and killed. Churches have been burned. Families have been torn apart, and entire communities live in fear constantly, simply because of how they pray. Sadly, this problem is not only a growing problem in Nigeria,
light on Nigeria at this time, as it has to do with violence against Christians. We've been experiencing this for a quarter of a century, and it has been extremely a difficult experience for Christians. Jos, Plateau State, where I come from, is considered as the umbilical cord of Christianity in northern Nigeria. Jos is the host of Western missionaries that have had calling to come and evangelize. So Jos is the umbilical cord for missionaries. And so Jos became like the first and primary target for Islamic extremism to launch their violence. And it has been a difficult experience because whole communities, villages, have been extinct as a result of this violence. I wish we have a lot of time because just in 2 counties, there are a whole lot of like 67 villages that have literally been wiped out because of the extremist attacks, especially by the Fulani militants. And of course, the Fulani militants are the foot soldiers for forceful advance and expansion of Islam in Nigeria. I don't know if I've said enough or I will still have the opportunity to say more.
I'll tell you this. I want to go around the panel and then I'll come back, Reverend. I want to get a good idea, and Sean, maybe you can fill us in based on what you have seen. What actually is the motive for killing particularly Christians? I mean, you can say, and I love the way that Nicki Minaj put it, this is not about picking sides, but it is about faith, and more Christians than anyone in that nation are being executed. Why?
That's absolutely right. And much of it started from 2009 with Boko Haram, when they really became militant and began attacking, and as Ambassador Waltz said, began kidnapping schoolgirls. That continues now, even to today, to raise funds or to buy weapons and all sorts of things. It could have started earlier when the Sharia criminal laws were passed. We're supporting a case right now at the Supreme Court of Nigeria that's being heard right now, so this is wonderful timing, to help overturn the death penalty blasphemy laws there. There's a young Sufi man, actually, Yahya Sharif Aminu, who's facing the death penalty for alleged blasphemy for song lyrics. So it could have started then.
For song lyrics.
For song lyrics shared over WhatsApp. That's absolutely right. At the Supreme Court, September 25th, a Kano state lawyer said they plan to execute this young man for alleged blasphemy. So it could have started there. In the last 5 years, though, we've seen an extreme rise in that Middle Belt region. Thousands of Christians killed every single year, 2020, 2021, 22, 23, and now with 7,000 just this year. And since the president's designation, at least 78 have been killed across many states. When they come into these villages, they shout Allahu Akbar, they attack the churches first. I visited with one of the communities, a number of the villages that had faced these attacks just south of Jos, and spoke with a new pastor there because the previous pastor had been beheaded and his head was found behind a church. But they were still worshiping there that same morning. We went to another church where they had come back from the internally displaced persons camps, which were horrible. They were so terrible. They said, we're going to risk it being with these militants there. And I enter this church, it's empty, there's a white shining cross there, and there's no roof because it was burned off. And all of a sudden, hundreds of villagers come in and begin singing hymns praising God. And it was just, you go there and we say we want to help them, but they're a witness to us as well of the power of their faith, of the power of Christ. So what they are going through is unimaginable across Plateau, Benue, Taraba, but their faith is so strong that's in great encouragement that we can actually turn the tide of this persecution.
And Sarah, it's because of that so much is at stake here. I mean, if we let those lights of faith go out, and I know the Pope has even addressed this issue because Nigeria has the largest number of Catholics in all of Africa, and they're killing them. And so and by the way, I'm one of those journalists who talks about our faith openly, so if people are wondering, now they know. But I pray about this because covering it seems endless at this point. So you're looking at this, what makes a difference now? I pray about this because
first
covering
of all, thank you for being here and for the voice that you so often give these issues.
You're looking at this, what makes a difference now?
I pray about this because I have to say to you, my sister, thank you, because your voice, and this is a direct answer to this question, we need people of faith and of courage like you who have platforms to stand up. And we're just so grateful. And I pray that you're blessed and that any persecution you face, you join a good list of those who've come before us who were persecuted for their faith. So thank you. The reality is it is an incredibly dangerous situation, not just for Christians, but for all of Nigerians. And we see the rise in the abduction of girls in particular. There's a reason for that, right? Boko Haram essentially means Western education forbidden. And so these young girls are in school because they are Christian and they're allowed to go to school. And I've gone and seen this happened in Iraq when ISIS committed a genocide against Christians there and Yazidis. They went after the women and children in the horrific situation that these women find themselves in. And now we're seeing it here in Nigeria. And somebody has to say something. We have to use our voice. I'm so grateful that the president continues to speak about this. And for the record, this is not the first time he has done so. In 2018, when he met with then Nigerian President Buhari at the White House, he brought it up then, both publicly and then privately. And we saw the Nigerian government turn a little bit. I think they noticed, somebody's watching, and that made them a little nervous. Sadly, things didn't completely change, though the president did designate Nigeria as a country of particular concern in 2020. That was unfortunately undone by the following administration. But, you know, this is not a new thing. And I think to Ambassador Waltz's comments earlier, this isn't for politics. This is the right thing to do. The CPC designation opens a lot of levers and doors for us diplomatically and otherwise to really, you know, pressure the Nigerian government to do what it needs to do and protect its own people.
You say it's not political. Politics, unfortunately, are part of everything. And so the politics being played here within that country, I have a lot of questions for the Nigerian president, why it takes so much pressure just to acknowledge that there's a problem. He has not yet engaged his military to stop these 22 groups of terrorists, many of them aligned with ISIS. Now, we know how to deal with ISIS. It takes a military to deal with ISIS. There's no diplomatic engagement with ISIS. So I have a lot of questions around that. And in the meantime, people die. So in the last 4 or 5 years, 4 years under the last president, Biden, the country, a particular concern, the CPC designation was wiped away. And imagine what terrorists do in that time. They build, they feast, they're like scorpions. Reverend McCann, I want to come back to you and ask you about all of the people who are dying, because Sarah's right about this. We know historically when one group is targeted, those who would even try to help or be neutral around that group are sometimes caught and executed as well. Is that a situation that could spread beyond the borders of Nigeria?
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, our borders are so porous, and we have all sorts of people migrate into the country unchecked. We don't know where they're coming from, but from the experience in country, we know that a lot of them come with harm, you know, in their hands and on their feet. And it's been so dangerous for those who speak up against these ills and these massive attacks that take place, because they too become targets of these insurgents. But the problem is, how do we continue to keep quiet, you know, when people are being killed day after day? Just within the last 3 weeks, there have been multiple attacks in Plateau, in southern Kaduna, in Benue, with 9 out of like 15 attacks in Plateau State. And that simply shows that, well, they believe that if they crush Plateau, they will crush Christianity, not just in the north, but in the whole of West Africa. And so we need help. We do need help internationally, because these radical groups are also internationally connected with other radical groups. This is why, you know, the announcement by President Trump and what the US Congress has done has rekindled hope in Christians and even moderate Muslims who themselves have recently been victims of the attacks of the extremists. And so we are looking forward to some definite action being taken. The statement of our president about the situation is unfortunate, and we have minorities like that are in their comfort zones, and they are the naysayers, and some of them benefit directly or indirectly from the misfortunes that has been befallen millions in this country. So we do need international intervention, whichever way it's going to come. Millions of Nigerians are looking up to the Western nations for intervention.
Well, look, I know the clergy are like yourself. They are expressing gratitude for the American president who sees the suffering. Catholic Bishop Wilfred Shikpa Angabi told Reuters, "I am happy that my cry, my prayers were answered, and I am particularly happy that the world has drawn the attention of Nigeria to look into the problem that is going on." Sean, I read a little bit about your background and how you see this kind of playing out. Is this about a caliphate? Why do they kill Christians? Is it a religious, spiritual warfare that we're seeing now waged on one side?
I believe it absolutely is. And we've talked about the IS ideology or the Al-Qaeda ideology, and that sense that anybody who stands in the face of a totalizing and violent extremist view shouldn't be allowed to exist. They should be stamped out and wiped out. And of course, it means that you can also take their land. It means you can take their wives and their girls. You can take all those different things. But that's why you're going after it, right? Just because, climate change doesn't cause people to behead each other, right? These different excuses when the attackers themselves say we're aligned with IS, when they themselves say we will kill all Christians. The Christians who see that and experience that every day, they believe them because they know what's happening. And many of those communities, they feel like they're totally defenseless, that they don't have people listening. When they give early warnings to local army or law enforcement, and 90% of the time, nothing happens. 90% of the time.
Why do you think that is? Why isn't the military engaged? Why aren't the law enforcement? Is that the Nigerian government that's saying don't, is that a no-go zone because they don't want to get involved?
I think there certainly are some kinds of politics that may be involved in that. It's hard to say without being in those kinds of conversations. But the reality is that those early warnings are not being responded to, and dozens after dozens get killed because nobody goes and answers those warnings. Again, there's a big case, it was a Supreme Court case involving a Christian farmer named Sunday Jackson. He was attacked, slashed on his throat and on his legs by a Fulani militant on his own farm. He tried to run and escape, he couldn't. So he got in this fighting match with him and was able to kill his assailant. He got taken and convicted of first-degree murder that was upheld at the Supreme Court. He's facing the death penalty for defending himself. That's how defenseless the Christian communities feel. When you go out and you see the Fulani militants that have weapons upon weapons, that begin to have drone technology, all sorts of things.
Where is that coming from?
That it seems to be coming from the porous borders that the Reverend has mentioned.
Wow.
But it is something where the Christian communities, they feel besieged. And so to have the U.S., to have people like Ms. Minaj speak out and say, we have to stop that. If the government is not willing to do it by themselves, then they need that pressure from the international community. It doesn't need to just be the U.S. It doesn't need to just be us. It should be the entire United Nations. It should be all within West Africa, all within Africa, in Europe, and around the world, because more Christians are killed there in Nigeria year after year than any other country, all other countries combined. And it's an atrocity. It's outrageous. It has to stop.
Sarah, listening to all of that, and thank you for that detail on what the battle is like, both legally and spiritually. I think of those young people in Nigeria, half the population under 18, most of them under 15. What happens to the future of Nigeria if you kill the children?
When I hear that, I think of one of the reasons why it's important for the United States to be a leader on this. I believe Secretary Rubio said that if something doesn't make us safer, stronger, and more prosperous, we're not going to focus on it, right? And I see this issue certainly as something of safety and security for us. That young population of people, those that are left, if we don't step in here and say this is unacceptable, then we allow radicalization to take place, and that country will be far more dangerous in the future than it even is today. So, from my perspective, this is an imperative for the U.S. government that we say the right thing and that we impose sanctions, that we use the levers and the tools that the CPC designation provides the president and the administration, and try to impact change here so that we don't see a worse off Nigeria in the future.
Can you go into a detail just a little bit? So that the CPC designation, what does that allow President Trump to do that maybe we don't know about?
I think there are like 15 different levers that it essentially opens up. Diplomatic pressure, right? Again, I reference the President's comments to President Buhari back in 2018. Mm-hmm. Even him just saying the word, what's going on with the Christians in Nigeria? I hear you're killing Christians. It made a difference. So there's that. sanctions, that we can open new sanctions, particularly against individuals who are witnessing this violence and doing nothing about it. So we can impose new sanctions beyond those that may already exist. And Sean, help me here. My dear friend Sean, who is so much more eloquent than I am, I'm so grateful to be here with him too. So diplomatic pressure, sanctions, there's a number of things that can be done, but I honestly believe the Nigerian government reacts most to the pressure, the public pressure that they feel.
Right.
There's a lot of industry there. They don't want to risk that and lose that. Oil, there's business. They, once you become like on this bad list, companies don't want to go there and operate from there any longer. That'll be something
Sarah,
they feel.
Also, I think the other thing is, the CPC designation is a wake-up call. And there are those things like removing different kinds of aid, saying we're not going to support these on military efforts. But the U.S. has been a long-time partner with Nigeria. We want Nigeria and West Africa to be secure and prosperous, and that's a wonderful thing for both of our countries. And so I think it is an opportunity, if they can stop the denials and change course and take these things seriously, get things to the middle belt, then those sanctions don't necessarily have to happen, right? And that'll improve their own economy. It'll improve their food supply. It'll improve the lives of their everyday citizens, whether Christian or Muslim, any of those things. So I think it is an opportunity that the president is offering, but he wants the denials to stop.
Well, it's interesting because we talk about Nigerians' rich oil history and potentially future. They refine a lot of oil. We actually, the United States, are supplying them with some crude. So it's interesting timing to see another oil-rich country, maybe the richest in the world, Saudi Arabia's crown prince at the White House right now. Nigeria no doubt pays attention to our politics and our diplomacy. So I look for this day to make a lot of news on a lot of different fronts, and Nigeria is at the heart of it for a lot of reasons. Reverend McCann, I made a note when you were talking before, and I had written this previously when I read your bio, but then I underlined it. Talk to us about peacemakers in the Bible. And those of us who are Christians, those of us with strong faith, my husband is Jewish, we are ecumenical, we serve the same God. Talk to us about the role that we can play as the faithful in peacemaking at this moment for Nigeria.
Well, I'm a firm believer in the sanctity of human life. Our Creator assigns equal value to our lives regardless of our race or color. And so I believe that we ought to equally value humanity. I preach peace with God. I also work for peace amongst men. I've been in it the past 25 years, and we haven't given up. While this violence takes place, we still preach peace. We are still open for peace. And we encourage that, without peace, there can be no development. And this is why we are crying out for intervention, because the violence is reducing the integrity and nobility of our nation. Let me use the opportunity to also call on the government of my country, pleading with the government of my country to humble itself and accept help that is coming from a stronger ally like the United States, and hopefully other Western nations too, because they have a stake in Nigeria. Like Boko Haram, like you said earlier, is anti-Western values. So it's anti-Western values, including Christianity, including democracy, and so if the West can unite to see that Nigeria is a hub, all right, of upholding Western values, which also aligns with what the Bible teaches, then we can have a world that enjoys peace, and we can have development, and the world will be a better place for everyone. No one wins when violence just takes over everywhere. There is no progress, no development. This is part of the reason why the Nigerian economy is still passing through terrible challenges today, because we don't have sufficient peace. Investors are very, very wary about coming to invest in the country because of the rise in violence. And so we are all for it. And I believe the Christians in Nigeria are for peace. We want peace so that there can be progress and development, and everyone can go about living their lives without apprehension of the other person coming on them and taking away their lives wishfully and willfully.
What do you say, Reverend McCann, to young people that you see in Nigeria? How do you give them the strategy to go forward in their prayers and their hope for the future with so much happening against them?
I didn't quite get that.
What do you say to young people, young Christians who know that the future could be bleak because of how they believe? How do you keep them hopeful? What is the strategy for that? What do you pray with them and for them about?
Yes, definitely prayer is key, and we haven't given up on that. Every day we pray for our nation, for God's intervention, for God to send help. We also try to engage them, to engage young people, bring them together, talk about conflict and peace building, and see how we can be better Christians, be better citizens, and love each other. Love, even the Bible teaches, love your enemy and pray for those who persecute you. So we want to continue to instill that truth in our young people, but there is a limit to which they would accept and go by that when the government is failing to live up to its own responsibility of protecting lives and property of citizens. We don't encourage our young people to take the laws into their hands and go about, killing and destroying properties. But the government should also do its own part.
What you said is so important, because there is a line, there's a limit that people can live through, and then they want to fight. And just as my mother taught me to, and taught all of us, to let others praise you, sometimes you have to let others help you fight. Like, you can't always do it on your own, and it's not always the might that does it, it's what you're talking about. It's setting the parameters that give you a better future. So as you look at this, we're potentially going to lose a generation of people in one nation if they don't get a handle on this. Is that how you see it?
I think that if the insecurity doesn't stop, you could have lots of systematic collapse. If you think of the Middle Belt, where it's the breadbasket of the country, if you're losing 40% of your farm and then another 40% the next year on a widespread scale across the area, how do people eat that way? How do they live that way? When there's millions of people living in internally displaced
16 million right now.
It's enormous.
Displaced.
Absolutely. And they have nothing. How do you build a life that way? How do you build a business or a family? You've already lost your home and you have nothing to look forward to, and you don't know when you're going to leave. But there's such bad conditions that people will still try to go back to their destroyed homes just to build a life. These are people who want to live, as the Reverend said, build peaceful and prosperous communities, who want to work hard, who pray and love their families, and they're unable to have the basic elements of life because of the lack of security, because of the lack of response, because of the lack of recognition of what they're going through and saying what it is, that they are facing religious persecution, they're facing targeted persecution. And I think just getting to that recognition, saying, we're going to respond when we hear that there's attacks against you. We're going to help you get back to your homes and rebuild those things. Just saying those things and beginning to to move on those, prosecuting attackers, I think you could see a pretty dramatic drop in attacks. But if the impunity continues, as you mentioned earlier, what message does that give you? It means you can attack and attack and attack again, and nothing will happen to you.
What do you say when the government argues, when the president argues, no, they have religious freedom. It is promised in the Nigerian constitution. I don't know if you read that recently, but it was in the headlines. And so I'm reading deeper on it, and I'm like, well, so what do they tell the radical Islamists? Like, that they also had the freedom to do what they do, but the Christians don't?
The reality is that in northern Nigeria, is it 12 states under Sharia law? That's not freedom of religion. So,
and that's sanctioned by the government.
They are allowed to practice Sharia law there.
You'd be hard pressed to find any country in the world that has a constitution that doesn't look pretty good, that has lots of nice words in it, right? Look at the Chinese constitution, or look at the Soviet constitution, or things like that, and you see all sorts of protections. But that's a piece of paper, as Antonin Scalia used to say. It's whether you live up to it. It's whether you live up to it by saying we're not going to discriminate in favor of one community or against another community. It's when you say that you can speak freely about your faith, where you can go to a church or to a mosque and not worry about that. And there have been some wonderful imams. There's an imam in the north who hid 300 Christians because they were being chased by terrorists. But that's the thing, 300 Christians were being targeted by terrorists at that same time. And so that kind of example of religious harmony is what needs to be protected.
That's amazing, though.
It is amazing.
Right
yes,
there.
Absolutely. And that can be strengthened, but you have to recognize where the problems are first.
How do we help someone like that? I mean, this is what we saw, and I don't like to compare atrocities because everything lives its own place in history. So I'm not going to do that. What I will say is, just in the spirit of what you just showed, that there are lights in every situation. There were lights in the Holocaust. Some of that happened where people were sheltered and given God's grace because they felt the Spirit moved them to do so. So how do we find those people? Reverend, do you have any thoughts on that?
Those who would provide like support, or
those who would protect Christians.
Oh yeah, well, this is where the problem is in our country, because of the escalation of this violence and the slow or non-response of the government authorities. A lot of the Christian communities are now feeling like they have to adopt self-defense, which also the Constitution provides for, but my other panelist says a piece of paper, because whenever the communities under attack find some way to want to defend themselves, then that's when the law suddenly, gathers some energy to go after them. But the aggressors, who seem to have, a reservoir of these ammunitions and weapons, keep coming round to attack the communities and to destroy lives. We have mass graves literally in every community. I've been there. I've been in the trenches. I've been to these places. You see mass graves here and there, and so how does that work? There is no justice. There is no justice, and unless justice is seen to be done, there is no amount of simply just talking, and we're not seeing it being done. That is going to help the situation.
I'm going to wrap up with this. I know I mentioned the huge Catholic population in Nigeria, 35 million Catholics. 2 days ago, the Pope declared, and this is a quote, "Thinking of Bangladesh, Nigeria, Mozambique, Sudan, and other countries from which news often arise of attacks on communities and places of worship." It's exactly what you're talking about. This is starting to migrate now. And that's putting so many more Christians under pressure. I feel like this is the tipping point for us, and I want to thank the ambassador, Mike Waltz, for bringing us all together, and Nicki Minaj for being part of this this worship moment for us to understand that we're on the precipice of being able to help and we can't miss our time. So thank you all for your time. Reverend, thank you. And Sarah and Sean, a pleasure to speak with you today and take all those many questions. You're very graceful. Thank you all. Appreciate you being here. But a hug.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Please welcome political strategist and advisor to the president, Alex Brusewitz, who will provide closing remarks.
Thank you. What an honor to be here. Harris, what a powerful panel that was, very informative panel. Sarah and Sean and the Reverend, full of insight and knowledge. And I learned a lot. And to be honest, I'm very bad at preparation, so I didn't prepare any remarks. But your panel gave me some inspiration to follow. And I did not know that the Biden administration removed the CPC designation in Nigeria and basically turning a blind eye to the terrible persecution that's been happening to Christians in that country. And as I was also sitting there thinking about, the previous administration was under had no ability to lecture other nations when it comes to treatment of Christians. The Biden administration also targeted Christians in our country, whether it was shutting down churches in the name of protection from a disease, or if it was putting people who purchased Bibles on a watch list by the FBI, or if it was hijacking Easter Sunday to rename it Trans Visibility Day. Do you guys remember that one? So how could that administration go to another country and lecture them on how they're treating Christians when our leaders had no respect for Christians in our country? And so that's why I'm so proud of this administration. We are finally able to be respected on the world stage again, thanks to President Donald J. Trump. And, Vice President Vance and Marco Rubio and Ambassador Waltz, who are unapologetic about America's founding. America is a Christian country. It was founded as a Christian country, and it will always be a Christian country. And we are not ashamed of that. We are proud of that. And President Trump is doing incredible work here in our country to defend religious liberties, and I'm very proud of him. But I'm also grateful that he uses his platform and his powerful voice to raise the awareness about the atrocities that are happening to Christians all across the globe. And I know today's topic was on Nigeria, but other countries are also falling short of protecting religious liberties, including Sudan and some other African nations. But it's so incredibly important to use your voice to speak out against these injustices. And Ambassador, I'm grateful for you organizing this. And Nikki, what an incredible testimony it is to have you here. I think the entire country is appreciative of you stepping forward in this moment. You spoke beautifully and elegantly, and your words will resonate in the hearts and minds of millions and millions of people all across this globe. You should be very proud of yourself for having the courage to step forward in this time. I don't think other people in your industry have the courage or the brains, really. You're very smart. Some of your rivals are not so smart, believe it or not. But you are very impressive, and we're grateful that you use your voice to show up today. And I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Please welcome back Ambassador Michael Waltz.
Oh, thank you. If I could Matthew, grab the rest of those bags. I just have a couple of gifts for our panelists for coming. Sarah, come on up. We've started a new look here if you haven't seen them. Everybody knows UNGA, the UN General Assembly. Well, we've started a new acronym called MUNGA. Make the UN great again. I thought it was pretty funny. I guess everybody doesn't think it's as funny as we do, but listen, this is the kind of thing the UN should be focused on. This is the kind of thing the United Nations, as you said, this isn't a U.S. issue. This isn't even necessarily a President Trump issue, although thank God he has really put a spotlight on it. This is a global issue. So we have some goodies here for you guys, including the coveted MUNGA hat. I'd love for you to have that. Thank you. And importantly, Reverend, where's? Oh, there you are, Reverend. There we go. You get a blue version. There we go. Thank you so much for that amazing and beautiful convocation. Yeah, no, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Who else do we have here? Oh, and Alex, come on up here, buddy. So this really happened because of Alex. And, you know, the president put out his truth and tweet, and Nikki, you so amazingly responded. And then Alex said, why don't you invite her right here?
Well,
this is the Queen in New York.
I knew the ambassador was a Barb's, by the way.
That's right. But we'd love for you to have that. And Harris, we have you and Nikki, if I can have you up here. I hope you guys are okay with this. But this is, we have this one for you.
Oh, thank you.
And, but that's okay, one better. Ah ha ha, there we go. So that you now have a whole amazing UN Barbs. We're now your United Nations Barbs. Yeah. Thank you, buddy. Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you so much for having me. When I tell you guys how honored I am, I don't think you understand. My pastor is here. I love you very much, Pastor. But I just want to thank you guys for taking this seriously and to give me a platform. I never in my wildest dreams saw myself here, but you know, God has.
When I was confirmed as ambassador, doing this with you was not necessarily on my bingo card. But you know what? This is what the Lord does. The Lord, He brings people together to protect His flock and to further His word. And we're just honored. And we mean this, and I know the president believes this. This isn't about politics. This is about humanity. This is about doing what's right. And I'm just so proud. And then I have one more thing. Pastor Peters, come on up here. So I didn't realize that the pastor is a fellow Army veteran. And if everyone knows this tradition, this is one of my challenge coins. Please stand here with me.
Wow.
This is one of my challenge coins. I'm proud, as you said. We need to be proud.
You know, Anaconda,
follower of Christ.
rap music, and what's that fans called Babs. This is not, as far as I'm concerned, she's chasing clout. Even if she has been invited to this forum by White House advisor and also by Michael Walls. The thing is 1 o'clock, you said, you know, Eastern GMT. Well, I think what we should do, since now the Americans are adding, you know, influencers and all of that, we also have influencers here. Look, if I were to advise on strategy, by that time when Nicki Minaj is speaking, we should put Tiwa Savage on national television for Tiwa Savage to express patriotic opinion, to say that this is what Nicki Minaj, this is whatever she wants to say, whatever she wants to say, whatever she wants to say, because this is not a matter.
But anyway, we're going to go with you over and tour the UN headquarters, and we're so thrilled that you joined us today. But thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Okay. Welcome back. Welcome back, everyone. Nigeria, Nigeria, Nigeria. Nigeria is in the eyes of the storm once again. The United States UN office or UN envoy just had that event that you just listened to, where a pastor from Nigeria and Nicki Minaj all spoke. So what that means, people, is the designation that we are given, and because the president and those who are managing our security affairs are not doing what probably Nigerians are expecting them to do as we speak, or whatever they are doing is not, in the views of Nigerians, not good enough, or in the views of the world, not good enough. And that's why you see a lot of things happening. I do not know if many of you have seen the video of a general, a Nigerian general that was killed by these bandits. If you go to my Twitter handle, you will see a video. Let me see if I can play that. You see a video of bandits moving, and someone shared it with me, and that was very distressing. But before I do that also, I would also bring us to the attention of the conversation that happened earlier this morning with in a Rise TV studio morning show, where when these events today was announced, how Abati responded to it. I mean, I share no opinion here, but let's just in a Rise TV studio.
American where there is religious freedom. My repost was that, look, Nicki Minaj is a rapper, right, from Trinidad, Port of Spain. That she should just concentrate on Anaconda rap music and what's that fans called Babs. This is not, as far as I'm concerned, she's chasing clout, even if she has been invited to this forum by White House advisor and also by Michael Walls. The thing is 1 o'clock, you said, Eastern GMT. Well, I think what we should do, since now the Americans are adding, influencers and all of that, we also have influencers here. Look, if I were to advise on strategy, by that time when Nicki Minaj is speaking, we should put Tiwa Savage on national television for Tiwa Savage to express patriotic opinion, to say that this is what Nicki Minaj, this is whatever she wants to say.
There's no Christian
whatever she wants to say.
Whatever
she wants to say. Because this is not a matter for people chasing clout, looking for influence and all that. We can also have Tiwa Savage or other people to defend their country, whatever their belief is. That's what I think.
About defending Nigeria, killings and going.
Well, whatever you say. No, I've not stopped. There are about 5 topics. I've just.
Anyway, that's about the position this morning, and a lot of people have actually offered. A lot of people have echoed their displeasure and disappointment on the manner Abati took that position, right? Because now a lot of people said that Abati really disappointed them with that position that he took, and I personally will ask, if you put up Tiwa Savage, what would she say? I mean, because what Nicki Minaj has done, even if you call it clout chasing, is that she stood up and said what she believed that is true. There is mass killing in Nigeria targeted at Christians. You can't deny that, right? You can't deny that. There is no one in their right senses that will say that mass killing is not happening, and that people are not dying. That would be sheer idiocy to say the least. So no one would ever say that. Now there is also, because when we look at this, there is also another video that started trending before I come to the one I said earlier, and this this is a video of where it's quite funny, because this is a video where you can in that video you will see that the Nigerian troop were after, they were engaging in fire, exchange of fire with the I don't know, call them terrorists, call them whatever you want. That's what it is. You can in that video you will see this video. Just listen very carefully what the conversation is. Here on the ground are Nigerian soldiers. You can see men. These guys deserve our prayers every day. These are people fighting for Nigeria. So these guys here are Nigerian soldiers, the ones you can see there. So, right, you can see them. You see them here. These are Nigerian soldiers. Then here, where they will now tell them to cease fire, and everybody's now questioning, if these guys are going in to finish the terrorists, why did you have to call them back to say ceasefire? Listen to that.
That's all. Let's go. Let's go. See them. Let's go. Fire. Oga, I'm not gonna fire. Oga, don't tell me what I can do. I know what I'm doing. I'm a gunner. Hey!
At this point, one of them called Ebuka as whether he pursue the terrorist to his father's bedroom. I don't know. It really has taken he took the matter personal. And you can now hear everybody shouting, Ebuka, ceasefire. Ebuka, no one here. Trust Nigerians. On such issues, you will see where people are now making fire. So if tomorrow, because everything is a joke in Nigeria, right? So if tomorrow you wake up and people are calling you Ebuka, ceasefire. So that's nowhere that is coming from. It's coming from this video that Nigerian soldiers are about to finish some of these people that give us trouble, and you can hear they're being told to calm down and cease fire, right? So now, on that, even the political parties are no longer being political correct. The new PDP chairman today that had that boxing match, and they broke the Wadata House gate and got in, with Wike's men. Today, he also recognized that there is suddenly a Christian genocide happening. I can even Bala Mohammed, look at the governor, Bala Mohammed, at his back, was shocked when he said that, when he was calling on Trump, come, they are killing us. Trump, come, they are killing us. Listen to him.
I want to call on President Trump. What is at stake is not just genocide against Nigerian Christians.
Sorry.
He should come and save democracy in Nigeria. Democracy is under threat. I'm calling on all other developed nations, all advanced democracies, come and save Nigeria, come and save democracy. Because I cannot understand how a serving minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria will be leading talks, armed talks, and then with the active connivance or support of the police to come and create mayhem here. I have said it, we are willing to lay down our lives to protect our office, to protect our democracy, to protect our mandate. So Nigerians, you are watching what is happening. International community, you are seeing the threat that Nigerian democracy is. Come and save us. Come and save us.
Now, key takeaway here is, if not for political expedience, you may not have heard him use the words he used. So by this statement he made, he has acknowledged that there is Christian mass killing in Nigeria. And immediately, as usual, that has ilked the Bayo Ononuga, right? And Bayo Ononuga he has already issued a statement actually condemning that. And beyond that, he has gone to his page. Let me walk us through what Bayo Ononuga stated here. Because Bayo Ononuga did not only condemn what the what's it called? I think the man is Turaki. He did not only condemn what he said, but as usual, he has gone an overdrive again. You know, that appears to be his stock in trade, right? Let's see. Can you see my screen? Hold on. Let me see if my screen comes up. Okay. So, yeah, you can see my screen here. Now, Bayo Ononuga wrote, "We shall never forget this video. The day a Nigerian politician committed high treason for calling for foreign invasion of Nigeria, all because of intra-party dispute." Okay. Suddenly, everybody develops dementia. Burkina Faso was on their own. Mali was on their own. Niger Republic was their own. Chad was on their own. Tell us who wanted to invade them. To a point that time that if you spoke against the invasion of these countries, you were called non-patriotic. But trust Nigerians. You know, Nigeria never be boring. Trust Nigerians. Nigerians started already showing him woto, saying, "Ononuga, these are you people back then in I think this meant to be 2014, begging for something, right? And these are these people here, the people who went to America at that time to beg for the same thing they are now complaining. Look at them, Rochas Okrocha, Joe Biden, or Barack Obama, Kashim Shettima, Adams Oshiomhole, and many more. You can see all of them there. These are the APC chieftain. So people would then ask, is the chicken coming home to roost? That is a very important question. You know, like I said, it's never a dull moment for Nigeria, because anything that's the fact, Nigerians are the real opposition. Anything you put out now, the real opposition, the Nigerians on the street of X, will give you woto in a wotowolious way. Now, look at this. They actually showed another video when, if you know Adiola, when Adiola was still with the Sahara Reporters in New York. Adiola had, interviewed Honorable Farouk. Then Honorable Farouk in this video argued forcefully with Adiola. Then it wasn't treason that Obama should arrest a sitting president, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. Listen.
And you came just to make sure that they arrest President Jonathan. But why was he not arrested in Nigeria? Why is it that America has to do it?
Because he has immunity. And the American government went to arrest Noriega from Nicaragua. So it's easier for them now he's here. So let them just arrest him here. And you can't even arrest a governor in Nigeria. They have immunity. But in America, he has no immunity. And I pray they will arrest him.
And you want him jailed here or taken back to Nigeria to be tried?
Well, I would want him to be jailed anywhere. Well, first of all, to be tried. I would want him to be tried. And if he's found not guilty, he should be acquitted and discharged. But if he's found guilty, I would want him to spend the prison time in Kirikiri.
Nigeria. And you came just to make sure that they arrest President Jonathan. But why is he not?
He entered plane just to go to America to make such silly demands, right? What I'm saying is, I understand that, patriotism, nation before anything. But again, in patriotism, in citizenship, it's a give and take thing. You have social contract where, the state, you yield your powers to the state through voting in order for them to make collective decision for the interest of the people based on the basic principle that, the basic tenets that says that the government has the primary duties to protect lives and properties, right? It's a very basic tenet that ought to stand. But in this case, sometimes when these arguments do happen, then you begin to question yourself, how about what is it that we don't actually understand? Or is it that because people are now in government, they will then tend to reason in a very different way? Then you begin to question yourself, why? Does, being close to power make people to lose their, senses? In this video is also the Minister of Communication, or rather the Minister of Information, right? In an interview he had with Piers Morgan, where he made a tweet demanding that Piers Morgan must publish that interview verbatim without any editing. And Piers Morgan replied to him saying, well, of course, that's why it's called Piers Morgan Uncensored, because they do not want to censor anything. Now, watch a snippet of that interview. You can go back, I think, if you are, I don't know if it's ITV, but you can go on YouTube, I think you can see Piers Morgan Uncensored, so you can basically just have a watch.
Here's what's happening in Nigeria is jihad. It's the exact same thing that happened on October 7 by Islamists when they broke into Israel and murdered Jews yelling Allahu Akbar. It's the exact same thing that ISIS terrorists did to the Yazidis in Iraq. It's the exact same thing that happened in Lebanon. Here's the only difference between what's happening today in Nigeria versus what happened 1,400 years ago when the Muslim Arab invaders came to Persia is that back then people did not have cameras, but today they do. It is 100% jihad. We've seen it before. This is how the Islamist playbook always happens.
Well, I don't think that the foreign minister was denying that bad things have been happening. He's just denying that it constitutes a genocide and that the numbers of reported
because his
deaths
government
of
is a part of it.
Of murders of Christians.
I think his government is complicit.
Right now,
you have an Islamist government in Nigeria. One of the things that he didn't mention to you is that typically it's been a constitutional convention in Nigeria that if the prime minister is Muslim, then if the president is Muslim, then the vice president is Christian. If the president is Christian, then the vice president is Muslim. This is intended to have a proper representation of the Nigerian population. Right now, you have a Muslim president, and then they decided to choose a Muslim vice president, and so there is actually no Christian representation in the Islamist government. By the way, this is a government that is working closely behind the scenes with the Islamic Republic of Iran. You should ask the foreign minister why Nigerian school children are holding pictures of the Ayatollah, who is a brutal dictator and is murdering my people in Iran. People need to look into the linkages between the current Nigerian government and the Islamic Republic of Iran. I was a politician for 7 years, Pierce, and I can tell when someone is lying and avoiding the truth. That's exactly what this foreign minister is doing, and shame on him for lying.
So, if you want to watch the full interview, you can basically look that up, Piers Morgan Uncensored, right? Now, I shared to us that even as we speak, even as, America had these at the United Nations, this meeting today, where these individuals spoke, that the mess is still, the mess is still on. They are still, people are still dying, so to say, if I put it that way. People are still dying. Let me show us a video that I tweeted earlier today. And in that video, clearly, you can see, let me see if I can pull up my Twitter page. And if you can see what I mean there. Okay. So let me pull up my Twitter page and see where is me. Okay, that's me. Okay, here. Now, when I got this intel in the early hours of this morning, I got this intel. First thing I did was to share that to the securities around me Now, and I made a tweet. Afterwards, and that tweet reads that the residents, basically to the Nigerian army here, that resident reports armed bandit moving through Libere, advancing towards Tashan, Alura, Jubri Company, and nearby village along the Katangora, Yauri Road in Katangora, LGA, Niger State. Resident video show bandit passing openly through the window. Here is the video in question. Now watch.
Bandits.
And the guy, the guy who videoed this thing, spoke a combination of English and Hausa.
Bandits. I see these bandits. Ga sanin lubalen zaka suna wucewa. I see these bandits. Ga sanin suna wucewa ga suna harbe. Bandits ga nan sun bi hanya. This is bandits. Ka wani kullewa daki. This is bandits. Ga sanin suna wucewa ga yanzu haka suna cikin lubale. Ga sunan suna tafiya, ina bidiyo ne. Ga sunan suna tafiya amma shina ga sunan. Kai ku kwantar da hankalinku.
But the guy took unnecessary risks.
Wala har yanzu ga sunan.
Because if they saw him, they would have shot
iska ya faka shagu mashin da Honda ne. Ga shi banda kati akwai zan kira yin gaske wala da yan mukurdi. Kai da Allah ku bar surutu da Allah kun fai surutu. Kai duka. Har yanzu fa suna tuwa. Wani kuma daji ina kuma zanga. Sai sun gama wucewa. Wala da an ban gaske ba.
Okay, so you've seen that. I mean, the video still went on and on and on, and looking at those number of bandits they keep moving, right? So the question is, why America is still discussing about bandits in Nigeria? We're discussing about genocide, whether you call it genocide, whether you call it non-genocide, whatever you call it, whether you say people are being killed, that everybody is, however you look at it, there is mass killing in Nigeria. There is mass killing disproportionately intended to take over land. However you look at it, that is to take over land and do whatever they, occupy people's land. There is nothing. I mean, this is not if, this is not but. And, and it's still on this. You would also understand that even an army chief was also killed. And there was also information since 11th. You know that six women going for promotional exam, they were all abducted. Since now, up to now, they haven't. Yesterday, people were, young children, 25, vice principal shot, dead, principal shot, but not dead. The wife of the vice principal, had an interview, and that interview was made public today. It's unbelievable from our narration. If you look at how they killed the army chief, these are videos I wouldn't want to bring to the public. It breaks the heart. No one deserves to die in that way. Not in the south, not in the north, not in the east, and not in the west. And to think about it, that in all this thing that happens, it appears the president is, I don't know, whether he doesn't really consider that he needs to do something and do it drastically. Let me, I'm not a security chief, but I mean, common sense will tell you that if I really want this to stop, I can actually call the service chiefs and give them marching order. If you don't do X, Y, Z in 6 weeks, I will remove you. Whatever it takes, if you want to pull heaven, let it happen. What do you need? You need to be able to provide. Because I think when I try to picture how the army general was captured, some say that his location was leaked, his coordinate was leaked, and it was easy for them to. But again, thinking about it, I'm like, even if his coordinate was leaked, the bandits or the terrorists or the jihadists, they don't fly helicopters, they don't fly jets. So where is our air defense? Where is our manned drone? Where is our armed drone? Go to Twitter or Facebook, search Ukrainian drone, Ukraine versus Russian drone. You see how young Ukrainians are converting even, normal film or normal domestic drones into deadly weapons, that they've used it to take out critical areas in Russia a couple of times, right? So when you understand this and you think, why can't, I don't know whether the brain not a work, or is it just because of nepotism or because of incompetence? The government appears to only going on the offensive, saying there is no Christian genocide. That's not enough. That's not enough. Oh, there is no Christian genocide, but there is mass killing of both Christians. Oh, they are killing even more Muslims. How idiotic can a government be to even make such argument? Because with the moment you say, oh, there are Christians and Muslims are even being killed more, that means there is there is unprecedented killing of human beings in Nigeria. Why should any person even die? Why? Why should a Christian die? Why should a Muslim die? Why should an animalist die? Why should the Momuyan die? Why should the Songo worshipper die? Why should an atheist die? Why? Because the government is incapable. Do you know the optics it creates? You're being put in a country of particular concern, and a day before America is having this, event at the United Nations on Nigeria, then 25 children again kidnapped from their schools. Are we going back to 2014? After 10 years of APC, that was voted on the basics of, we are going to botany, I'm a general, I will fight, and I will depict the Kagame, depict what is happening. Now you've been voted. They've given you power. What are you doing with the power? Power. Now someone else has come, he has grabbed it, he has snatched it. What else is he doing with the power? Ladies and gentlemen, that's the much I can take. But join me 7 o'clock prime time on Friday. I am having another event with Christians that are being massacred in Goza, Borno State. You hear stories that you think, wherever you are now, you are actually in heaven. And it's been happening for over 10 years, and it's still happening as we speak. I've had preliminary conversation with some of them. I said to myself, please, can you stop, sir? Because the goose pimple in my skin is too much. I said, okay, please. allow us, don't spill all these things. Let's come in on Friday and we will do this conversation. And I will dedicate more of, because now is a serious thing, I'll dedicate my Fridays, 7 p.m. instead of my Friday hangout, because there is nothing to hang out. You do not go hang out, you do not go drinking where your house is on fire. The house is on fire. I will also on Thursday do a special program on Thursday. Recall that the IPOB leader, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's, the judgment is going to be delivered on Thursday. So I'm reaching out to some legal experts to speak on it. I do not want that to be prejudiced, before they give me some legal jargons. But I would want, after the judgment would have been delivered, we'll have people here to analyze, to join us, to say this is what they think. So it's likely to be either 5 o'clock Nigerian time or 6 o'clock, depending once most of my guests are able to confirm their availability. So these are the things we have in stock for you. Do not forget, please like, share, and subscribe. The only thing we beg of you is click that like button, share with others, tell them about the gospel of Njenje Media, chapter 1, verses 1. And you know what that means. I am your host, Mazi Ezeoke. Good night from this part of the world. It is already late. So, like I said, like, share, and subscribe.